Now, our next guest is with one of the friends of the show, She Publishing LLC, which is by the incomparable Shanitha Burton. She's the mastermind behind She Publishing. And now I want to make sure I pronounce your name correctly. Is it Antonius?
No, ma'am. It's Antonius.
Antonius. Okay. I was wrong. You know, the movie Spartacus had Antonius in it.
It
And that,
does.
okay.
It does.
So you know about Spartacus. So,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. So now, is that a family name?
It's not. I'm really not sure the origin of the name. It was my father's middle name. That's where I got it from.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it is a family name.
Well,
If
well,
it's
you know
your
what? I
father's
guess at that
middle
point it
name,
is.
it's a
Exactly.
family.
Exactly.
So, Antonius, you have a book called Finch, I guess it's Finch Files, and your book is through She Publishing LLC. And how did you meet? How did you get connected with She Publishing?
Uh, the way that I was connected with She Publishing is a high school classmate of mine actually wrote a book, and I saw her posting her book, and I asked her like, well, "Wow, who was your publisher?" Because I was interested in writing one, and she gave me a publisher's information. And when I contacted, the lady from She Publishing, she was very professional, and she made the book publishing process just a seamless transition. She was very professional, very easy to work with.
Well, Shanitha is uh,
That
personal
girl.
friend now and a friend of the show. And she comes to the National Black Book Festival every year with her group. So it may be that we may see you this year in October. It just depends on I don't know who and how many people she's bringing this year, but she really and I don't even remember how we even got connected with you. You know, when you've had 600 guests and then the thousands I know just from being in this business so long, I
Okay.
can't remember how I meet certain people.
I met Shanitha through, I don't know if I met her through the show or if I met her through the festival, but she's family right now.
Yeah, she's family.
I mean
Yeah.
she brought a group out to the Black History Month Literary Weekend last year, and this year she's bringing another group out, and she's coming as a sponsor. So that even though I'm not an author under her label, I feel like I'm part of the family because this we connected so well. So I will tell you that Antonius, you have a great publisher.
Yeah, you
She's
Oh,
do.
very
thank you. Thank you.
You really do. So tell us about now where you walking while you're on the show.
No,
Move into
you
another
man.
room. Oh,
no. What I did was I
what's
turned some
going
lights on. I turned some lights on. It was too dark, so I just turned some
Oh,
lights on.
okay. I'm like, okay, what is he doing? I hope he's not going in the bathroom.
Oh no, no.
So anyway, my green screen is acting up tonight. So tell us about Finch Files and what it's about.
Well, Finch Files is a collection of short stories. When
Okay.
I used to have a blog site. On the blog site, I used to write about different things that was happening in the community, but I will add a little twist to it so that way identities could be sealed. And I just started using I started using my blog site as a way to express myself when I was dealing with different things. It's like you have to have an outlet, and writing is mine. And
Okay.
after that, everyone was reading my blog, and they was like, "You need to write a book, make it into a book." So I reached out to Shanitha, and the rest was history. But
Okay.
one thing about the Finch Files is something in there for everyone from teenagers on up, something that people could relate to.
Okay. So give us an example of one of the short stories in the book as far as the storyline.
Okay, well, one of the storylines I wrote, it was called "The Difference in Death." Okay,
Okay.
you know, it's the difference in death, and what I mean by that is when someone is sick is suffering from a terminal illness or something like that, you can see them progressing towards that. But when someone loses their life suddenly, it's more unexpected, and the way that it impacts you is different. If someone loses their life due to sickness, and you see them progressing over time, to when someone loses their life to a car accident or violently, it's very unexpected. So that impact can be different. I know because I lost someone on both rims. Another short story was about a lady who I fell in love with, and I did wrong, and she ended up leaving. And I was so heartbroken because I was like, wow, this was the one, and she got away. So I had to write a book. I actually wrote the story to impress her, like, man, look. And
Did it
like
work?
uh, it did.
Okay, well, but that's a common story, and it could be on it can be on either side. I'm gonna say normally it's the guy who messes up, but it could be the woman.
Okay, I'll take that.
But that's a common story, and it's so human, and it's the same story, but the details are not always the same.
The
No,
details are not. It's another story called snitching, and that's a plague in the Black community. I believe that's why violence continues to increase because of the snitching policy. Whereas I wrote down the difference. I have a story called it's about the difference in snitching and identifying what snitching is. Whereas if you are a willing participant in a crime and you're caught and you tell on the person that you did the crime with, that's snitching. But if you are a regular civilian like you and I, and something happened and you choose to say something, then that's different. We're not held to the same standards as people that's in a
as the
people that's in
token.
a lifestyle.
Mhm.
Right. So I wrote that for the youth to understand, you don't have, just because you're young, don't mean that you have to follow a policy if you're not a part of that lifestyle.
Yeah. One of the problems with the criminal justice system in terms of that being a witness is they make it almost like the witness is the criminal, or the witness is in danger,
Yeah.
and who wants to put themselves in that position? It's very difficult. That's your
It is.
family could be at risk. It's not just you as an
It is.
individual.
It
And
is.
while they don't, they have that two-way glass when you have the person in the lineup, but then you have to testify in court if there's a trial.
Yeah. So, that
Yeah,
deters a lot of cooperation, and in return, it doesn't help the violence in our urban areas. It actually shields. It's more like the person that's speaking, trying to assist, is almost like their own child for being a criminal, and the person who
right. That's
did wrong, it's
right.
like they become the victim.
Yeah,
So
the criminal has the upper hand in the system.
yeah, so it all depends on the life that you lead.
Yeah.
So I
So are
wrote
you
some.
in law? Are you in law enforcement? What's your background?
No,
What do
no.
you like? What do you? What are your interests, and what got you interested in writing? Like, what led you down this path of blogging and sharing bearing your soul online?
Okay. I mean,
Rhonda, you have your mute is on.
Sorry about that. I was just saying, so as you're talking, have you connected with Royce, who's also a part of She Publishing?
I actually I recently met Royce. He was at the convention. I met him there.
Yeah, the
I
one in
met
Chicago.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm just saying, I just feel like, you two have similar viewpoints, and it would be interesting to see you guys have a conversation. Just be
Okay.
listening and be a fly on the wall.
But you asked what got me into writing.
Yeah.
Uh, when I was younger, I had two passions. It was writing and playing basketball. So playing basketball, it actually got me through college. I played college basketball,
Okay.
but
Where'd you
writing,
go to college?
I played at a junior college. I played at a junior college called Parkland in Champaign, Illinois. I played
Mm-hmm.
at a NAIA school called Kendall College.
Okay.
After my associates, but it was writing was more like in my grandparents' household where I grew up at. My grandmother, she ran a tight ship. Let's just say that. My grandfather was at work during the day. My grandmother, it was like no noise after 6 o'clock. Get your pajamas on. You're going to choir rehearsal tonight. So I just used to, just write as a way to, for one, it was quiet, so the might bother me. I didn't bother her, and it was just a way of me, just like, wow, you can say what you're feeling, and it was like once you write something, and you put it on paper, whatever you're going through, happy or sad. If you're happy, it increases it, and if you're sad, it gets it like off your chest. So it's one of my
But so that was
stress
what
relievers.
interested you in writing, but why did you decide to write about what you write about?
Uh, actually, actually, I have I have so many different stories that's written, and I actually have two books that I'm working on now that I'm just about finished. So with that, it was just more so of you know seeing the different things that was going on in my community. You know, looking at politics, women. You just write about the things that the things that you see, the things that you grew up in. But it doesn't have to always be negative. So I wrote something for everyone. I consider myself to be a very diverse person.
Mhm. Your story about death was is interesting. The angle, the aspect of it that you mentioned, um, because the people close closest to me, my mother, my father, and my brother, they all died from illness. Um, but it was still, even though a person may be ill, when they pass, it can still be shocking
Yeah,
unless
yeah,
they're like, on life support or something like that. Like my mother took a nap and didn't wake up. She had been
Mm.
sick, but not. I mean, it was totally unexpected. It was
right.
not, at that time. So that was shocking. And my dad had COVID, and so they did tell us, he was transitioning. So you had a chance to
You
wrap
had
your
you
mind
were able
around
to expect that because you knew it was coming. I'm
it.
gonna tell you, my worst fear is I've not lost either of my parents, and I've not lost my sister. So that's one of my biggest fears.
It changes your world. It change it's a different world
I mean,
without.
but see the angle that I came from with that. My grandfather, he succumbed to cancer. Okay, but he was in the hospital, and I knew that it wasn't a cure for cancer. So you knew inevitably you pray for a miracle, but inevitably you knew that was coming. Okay, but
Mm,
growing up in the Inglewood community in Chicago, I've had a cousin who I expected to talk to that night that was murdered. I had friends who I may have talked to earlier that day or seen the day before, and they end up being murdered. So what I'm saying is, when you, I knew my grandfather was sick, so yes, when he died, it definitely hurt me. Okay, but I was able to mentally
prepare
prepare
yourself.
myself a little bit for it. You never can prepare yourself fully, but
Right.
you knew it was coming. And at that point, it's when you make a decision. Like, well, man, if he's going to be alive and be in pain, I don't want him to suffer on the strength of me. You know.
Mm,
But when you are when you have loved ones who is 100% healthy and you got plans with,
right.
and their life is taken suddenly, that's a different type of pain.
Yeah.
That's something different. That's unexpected. That's why it's called difference in death, you know.
Mhm. Well, and it's so true what you said. My first husband um had a brother that got killed by a drunk driver on Thanksgiving Day, and so that was so I understand it was shocking. It was just devastating, because he talked to him the earlier in the day, and then that later that night his mother called and said he was gone, and he was 27, or he was, he wasn't 30. So it was
Right,
devastating.
right. It was unexpected, you know.
Mm-hmm. Unexpected.
I also wrote another story called Related, Not Family. And
Okay.
that is more so how, we can't pick our family, the family that we're born into. Okay.
Right.
But we can, you know, blood makes you related. But in my book, loyalty makes you family. So it's, yeah, we're related because I'm born into this family. But the people over here, they're more loyal to me and they treat me more like family. So yeah, we're related, but this is my family here. So it's just, I like to think outside the box, so
Well, you really are kind of inside the box in terms of talking about everyday life,
yeah,
but you really are kind of dissecting it.
yeah, I'm just breaking it down a little bit more, just being a little bit more tedious with it. That's
Mm-hmm.
all.
I
What are
mean,
your goals
yeah.
with your books?
Excuse me.
What are your goals with your books?
My goals with my books is really just to break down, to enlighten some people, okay, with
Mhm.
things that's going on in the communities, and to allow some of the younger guys from my community, you know, just to say, hey, we have an author from here, to show a way that you can be more than just an athlete, or a hustler, or a drug dealer, or
Yeah.
something like that. I'm actually working on two new books right now that's coming out. I'm coming out with my children. I have a children's book coming out. It's
Okay.
called The Adventures of Avery and Daddy. We're
And both
like,
under She Publishing?
yes, I'm almost finished. Everything I do with Beyond the Sheep Publishing, she made it so so seamlessly. So I'm going to stay with that. Plus I have a daughter, and I believe in empowering the Black woman because I want my daughter to be empowered. So I want her to
How
see
old
her
is your
dad.
daughter?
She's 6.
Oh, okay. So she's just getting started.
She's just getting started. So it's important to me that she see, everything that a man can accomplish, a lady can accomplish as well. So I'm doing more things with women, and I'm involving my daughter in it. So that's why we it's going to have 18 short stories in it, and we have 14 completed so far. So
The children's book.
yes,
So that's more for young adults or like teens.
it's more like kids. She's 6, so see, like this book here is more for like teenagers on up. I didn't have anything for children. And
Okay.
another author under the She Publishing Network, he actually wrote a children's book, and I thought it was real cool. And then when my daughter's starting to read, she's always talking about different things, and we're doing so much with each other. So we just document it. I'm like, wait a minute, let me listen to a book so she can be an author. So just trying to push new boundaries with my daughter. That's all.
Well, it's important to involve children in things that we're doing.
Yeah.
And
And
believe
I've
you
met
me,
so many authors who have encouraged their children to write. I mean, my own daughter has written her book, and she's considering writing more, but she's more of an actress than a writer. But that's
Okay.
still part of the art, so I'm still happy about it.
Right. All right. You know, I was. I think I have two older sons. I believe my oldest son, he he's into his career now, but he's also a rapper. You know, so I told him like, you're a writer. You're a writer because if you rap,
lyrics, song lyrics.
you're writing. All you're doing is just doing it with a melodic beat.
Right.
My youngest son, he's a freshman at the University of Illinois. Uh, both his parents have written books, so I can see that in his future as well.
Well, that's great. So what are your goals for like what do you want to do with your books, and who is your main audience for your books? Like not who's actually, do you know who actually is like buying your books? Like when you go out and you meet the public with your books, who expresses the most interest? Like what kind of, is it people of a certain age? Is it, you know?
That's just it. My book, it reaches a wide range. And the reason I say that is because, of course, it was promoted heavily in my community, okay? But I also promote it in my professional life as well. You know,
Okay.
so once again I have people from different genres, that's supporting. So that's why I had to sit down and think like, man, I got this market cornered, I got that market cornered, I don't have the children's market cornered. So that's why I stepped in with my daughter and we were writing this book. And I'm also coming out with a second book this year called The Emasculation of Marriage.
Mm, that's a strong title.
Right, you had a visceral response to that. You know, I saw it and it intrigued me. I underlined it. I underlined the emasculation word of marriage.
Yes, ma'am.
So just give us like a teaspoon of what that's about.
It's about it's about how a man almost becomes eviscerated, okay, or almost emasculated by his spouse and her family.
Okay, is it fiction or nonfiction?
Uh, a little
Is it
bit of
a
both.
novel or is it like a how-to
No, it's a novel.
or self-help?
It's a
It's a
novel.
novel. Okay.
It's a novel.
Okay.
It's nonfiction because it's not 100% fiction,
Okay.
Okay.
but there are some fictional points, some fictional stories, some fictional uh, terms in the book, some fictional things that actually happen in the book.
So this isn't short stories. This is one story.
Yeah, this is one story.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
This one is
Oh,
one story. This would be my first novel. You know,
well.
I've been writing that one for 3 years. Sometimes you have to write, and you have to be in a certain mind frame to write that title.
Oh, I know. I know. Both of my novels took 5 years to write. Each one took 5 years. The next one I can't take 5 years because I needed to come out quicker. But sometimes that's what it takes. It has to percolate. You have to be, moved and motivated. The spirit has to lead and all that stuff. So, it just depends. So, Antonius, we're at the end of our time, but we do show your book cover again of the Finch Files. So people can, when they go online to look it up, they know what the cover looks like, so they make sure that they're getting the correct book.
I
And
like that.
I like the user street sign as
Yeah.
your art. So thank you for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV, and congratulations on
Thank you
your
for
book.
having me. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to watching more of your shows. Okay,
All right. Don't be a
Okay.
stranger.
I won't. Thank
Yeah, and,
you.
and feel free to comment when you watch, because we do read the comments and sometimes we announce them,
I
it
will.
depending on the time, how much
I
time.
will.
Okay. Have a
Thank
great
you.
night.
You as well. Bye bye.
Good night.
Good night.